live. Cue music. And hello, everyone. I'm Dan Lutz, and I'm here with my co-host,
Tank,
who almost missed his cue. And we're here on the front. We're here on the front lines in the battle against the deep state, the cabal, the Illuminonkeys, and all those that wish to enslave all of humanity for their own selfish reasons and put children under Central Park.
yeah, I'm actually really. I mean, this looks very, very solid. There's some real pictures that are definitely from Central Park, and they have these tents set up. I guess I can share that.
I'm sharing it.
Oh, okay, good. Yeah, so you have the tent set up that they claim are for the coronavirus, which would be the perfect cover because no one's going to go into Central Park with the coronavirus, right? Because everyone's going to be freaked out by having these weird tents up in the middle. And then, if you see that picture there, where they're showing
The circled one that's a hole in the ground. So they're pointing out there. And then here's another one. Someone is laying there. Don't really know what to make of that, but they look very thin. Right there. I lost Tank. We lost Tank's voice. Oh, Tank, are you back?
Yeah, sorry about that.
Okay. So this is a tweet. It's from Jenny McCollum. And Central Park is not for CV. What's CV? for children being brought up from the tunnel.
COVID-19.
Oh, got it right.
Coronavirus.
Right, I got it now. Yes. Yeah. Central Park not for coronavirus for children being brought up from the tunnels. That's exactly what's happening. Info has been surfacing all day. This is one of the extraction sites in Central Park, which they do primarily through the night for security and safety of the children. And many of them have never seen daylight, so they need slow exposure to light. God bless these precious children and the frontline workers who will be forever changed by what they're witnessing. Yeah.
Well, would kind of go in line with the 10 Days of Darkness, right? Now, what did you say about it? You said that Wonderland is really New York?
Yes, Wonderland is really New York. So that was from let's see if I have it. Where is it at? Yes. So this is a Q Patriot. Now, we talked about a couple of his videos. He's got another really good one. This is a QAnon New York Tunnels / Alice in Wonderland Q equals Alice / Q Patriot. So I don't know. It doesn't mean that Q is the Alice. That's bad naming. But what he's saying here is that we talked about how close the comfort ship, the Navy comfort ship is a hospital ship, is docked at Pier 90, being a marker or a countdown in QAnon, and that all these tunnels were there, and we had the Clinton Foundation that was close to it, and Eleanor Rothschild's business was there that's connected to Nexium, and right next to the Chinese consulate, and right next to Central Park, and all these tunnels are built there. So this particular video, he's really going more into that, and his reveal, what he's presenting here, where we thought that Alice in Wonderland meant that Hillary was in Saudi Arabia, and Saudi Arabia was Wonderland. And it basically comes from this one letter that was addressed to Hillary, and so he was referred to as the Mad Hatter, and so that's why Alice in Wonderland. And anyway, but we were on the wrong track. I think this guy is correct, that it's really Manhattan. So we'll listen to a little bit. It's at just at the 20-minute mark into a 35-minute video.
Think about this for a second. In this other letter, which I'm about to show you here, and this is the reference to 2053 that Q is pointed out right here. Okay? There. Okay. So we have so we got here, and this is Marty Tory, the Hatter, talking about been invited to meet Pervez Musharraf. This is the former president of Pakistan, and he's talking about how he's going to meet him in New York City. Okay, that's interesting. And then Hillary responds by saying, "Sounds like an opportunity. Let me know how it goes. And I hope you and Chris enjoy your time in the land of Alice and the MH. All the best from Hanoi." So firstly, Marty Tory is a Mad Hatter. So why is she saying MH? Manhattan. Manhattan, Mad Hatter. Interesting correlation there, right? Okay. They're going to New York City. She says the land of Alice. New York City is Wonderland. Now, why is it the land of Alice? Why is she calling it the land of Alice? Well, let's look at a few things here. If we look at lingo, right, shared within the human trafficking rings, we found out that Madam, an older woman who manages a brothel, escort service, or other prostitution establishment, she may work alone or in collaboration with other traffickers. Also, by the way, I don't know if you saw this, but renegade a person involved in prostitution without them. B.O., hey Barry. Anyways, so we see that Madam is the one who manages the brothel, escort service, and prostitution rings. Think about what they're saying. The land of Alice? she's talking about telling him to enjoy, right? Mad Hatter, the crazy area, the crazy one, right? She's telling him to enjoy his time in New York City, which is the land of Alice. But we always thought that what? The land of Alice, or Wonderland, was Saudi Arabia. Well, guess what? We see this in very other Q posts, right? Hillary in Saudi Arabia, Alice in Wonderland. We just saw it over here where Saudi Arabia equals Wonderland. But Q never says that it's the country of Saudi Arabia equals Wonderland. What am I trying to tell you here? Well, let's pull it up. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at this article right here. This is New York's 10 biggest property owners. We're going to scroll down and go 1, 2, 3, 4, and number 5. Number 5, Blackstone started off as a boutique mergers and acquisitions firm in 1985. It was founded by Peter Peterson and Stephen Schwarzman. Since it became one of the largest private equity firms in the world, in New York City, Blackstone owns 20.1 million square feet of real estate. Now, I'm going to tell you that that real estate is composed of hotels. Are you ready? Saudi Investments Abroad, Blackstone Infrastructure Fund. What? Wait a minute.
What?
Blackstone SoftBank deal puts Saudi sovereign fund on the map. So, the Saudis, House of Saud, is the primary shareholder in SoftBank, which owns Blackstone, which means that the Saudis, the House of Saud, is the 5th largest holder of real estate in New York City. Now, can we understand why it's bloody Wonderland? Now we understand why Wonderland equals Saudi Arabia. This is what Q means when he's telling us to dig. Now, what other evidence do we have of this? Well, we can just move all these out of the way real quick. And so, I'm going to bring you back to my map that I've been building. All right, so now we're going to go to the map. And this is the map that I've been working on. And we're going to do some zoom-ins and see if this works out pretty well. But we know that the majority of the holdings in the 20.1 million square feet of real estate is held in hotels. Now, I'm not going to go into how many hotels they own, but what I want to show you is that within the Q map post, most of the times when it references Saudi Arabia and Hillary Clinton and Alice in Wonderland, we also see the Godfather 3 attached to it. Now, why? Why would Q be putting the Godfather 3 in there? And that's been one of the most cryptic references that we've seen. Well, whoop, that's the wrong one. It's this one. It's this one. Okay, the first one is this. Godfather 3 filming locations. The first location is 956 Fifth Ave, Manhattan. Interesting. And then we go down a little bit more. The third location is St. Patrick's Cathedral, 5th Avenue, Manhattan. Well, why is that interesting? Well, because that's all in this whole little square. Okay? 956 5th Avenue. But guess where that's right next to? Central Park. Now, what were we talking about with Central Park? Remember Frick, the Frick collection right here, the Frick Museum's right over here. But Frick allowed for the railroad to build tunnels. Now, what's interesting is, you guys will like this. Well, obviously you can see it right there. Alice in Wonderland, 956 Fifth Avenue. What are the odds that the hotel, the first location of Godfather Part 3, 956 Fifth Avenue, right, is located right across the street from the Alice in Wonderland statue in Central Park? And if we bring this over here again, we see many references from Q about Godfather 3, Godfather Part 3 right there, Godfather 3 in Snow White, and this is Hillary in Saudi Arabia, Alice in Wonderland, Godfather 3, all next to each other. Okay? There's a few other references in here. Didn't search for them here, so I'm not going to have it in that, but I think you get the gist of it. It's right here. Godfather 3, Alice in Wonderland. What is going on here? It's Q telling us that Godfather 3 and Alice in Wonderland have relevance. Manhattan, Mad Hatter, M.H., Land of Alice, Madam Alice, Clinton Foundation right in the center, human trafficking from the port being distributed amongst the hotels, Standard Hotel right down here. You have LDR's former business right here. You have the Saudi Arabian consulate. Now, here's something also interesting. What else do you see with all these posts? You see Lexington and Concord, right? Lexington, Concord, and 5-5. Now, I'm ready to show you a boom here. This is going to be quite interesting. I don't know if anybody else caught this. Right? I want you to also see this while this is loading. Hunter's Point. The hunters become the hunted. Interesting. But what I want you to see right here is this. This is Lexington Avenue. Okay? Lexington Avenue. And this is 55th Street. What is right there on Lexington and 55th? It's the Concord Hotel. Lexington Concord 5-5. I don't know about you, but that's kind of a little bit more than a coincidence. A little bit more of than a coincidence. And so what I'm trying to see here is it looks like Q is trying to point us to this area of New York City because this is like, I think, the central point for all human trafficking. This is like the big city of their, this is their main city, their central point of the cabal. And Madam Clinton is the one who runs this regional area. And they utilize drugs and human trafficking through tunnels to different distribution areas, and those distribution areas are moved out from there to local pimps, etc. Now, also, and I want to bring this up, because this is going to be pretty cool, that what if I told you there's a tunnel under Central Park? Wouldn't that be interesting? Now, remember when Q said, Alice equals Q? Now, I don't know if you saw that earlier, but Q did it, and he said Alice equals Q. So, now let's go back to Central Park, because we see the Alice in Wonderland here, right? We know the Frick collection there. He was a financier in the Pennsylvania Railroad, which made the tunnels here on 12th Ave, right? But also, there's tunneling under Central Park. We know this. Now, I want to draw your attention right here to this one Q post, and this is Q post 74. Okay, and we're going to blow this up. And this is a strange one because nobody really understood what this meant. Q equals Alice. You'll soon understand the meaning behind Alice and Wonderland. Everything has meaning, God bless. Okay, now, what does that mean? Well, let's go here. There's a secret tunnel under Central Park. Okay, and we just saw that Alice in Wonderland was right there, the area, right? We know that Wonderland is now New York City. We know that Alice is equal to HRC. We've seen this before, and we've seen her being called Madam Alice. But Q just said Alice is equal to Q. What does that mean? What if he wasn't referencing Q and I? What if he was referencing a tunnel? A new map released by the MTA depicts plans for a much-anticipated 2nd Avenue line. Instead of traveling to Astoria, Q trains will now run along the northeast Manhattan, and the new W train will bridge Queens and Manhattan. So, this stretch of the Q will now run beneath the park and is inquired as to whether or not this is a new construction. The Q line runs beneath the park. Now, I don't know if you can see it, but that's right around 74th Avenue that it all happens. And, well, this was 74. Pretty interesting.
Right.
And
Well,
so,
there we go. We don't have to go any further, but you get the picture. He's pretty detailed. I like that, you know, and it really...
Yeah, me too.
He's painting a very good picture of why, and he's putting it all together. So he's doing excellent. I really encourage everyone to go ahead and subscribe to his channel and give him some thumbs up. So I already did give him the thumbs up. But it seems like it's all really starting to make more sense, you know, that is, Wonderland. That makes sense. It's their power base. It's why Hillary moves from Arkansas to New York, right? She's the senator from New York.
Right. Well, that area, I'm just fascinated by this, right? Because that area is a very, it's outlined there is a very fascinating part of New York City, right? Because that used to be my territory. I used to work right there in Manhattan, so I was always all over that.
Well,
so
I heard that he's referring to it on the other video as Hell's Kitchen. I've heard it in some movies and stuff. Even John Wick film it referred to Hell's Kitchen. What does that mean, Hell's Kitchen? I mean, I can interpret from what we're talking about. It really is hell. But where's that come from, Hell's Kitchen?
Well, I mean, Hell's Kitchen used to be a really rundown slum of an area, for a long time. And in New York, anything that was used to be one thing, ends up changing into something else, So now Hell's Kitchen is a beautiful place to live. I mean, it's very nice, right? But what you do have is on 59th, right at the waterway, right now, I'm trying to think of where they have this park, but you have a hotel there called, or not a hotel, but a building that's very unique, and I'm going to show it to you here. I'll pull it up. It's called Via, right? Now, Via is it's a pyramid right in the center of Manhattan, right? And it's in a very, very, it's actually right down the street from where the Studio 54 used to be. I'm going to show it to you right now. And you never see it in any pictures anywhere else. Like no one ever talks about this, right? Oh, Dan, you got to enable me for a second.
Oh. Okay. I wonder why that setting has changed.
Yeah, I'm not sure. It happens. But, so in that area you have Via, right? Now, and there's symbolism everywhere in Manhattan, right? Now, plus, that whole area is filled with just a very, very old school rich money, big money right there from both sides, on the East River, and on the west side of Manhattan, both on the Hudson. There's all types of old brownstones and old mansions. That's where Jeffrey Epstein's mansion is. And then virtually every star that you ever heard of, they all are concentrated in that one area. And they have these beautiful old renovated stable houses. They used to stables.
I think you can share now, but go ahead.
Let's see. There we go. So, there you go. So if you see this here, now this is a pyramid right in the middle of Manhattan. Now I bet you've never seen this in any skyline. You never talk about it, right?
No.
But I'm not sure exactly where the boat is parked, but it can't be far from here. Now this is super elite, beautiful apartments here, right?
Are those the Twin Towers behind?
No, actually, that's not the Twin Towers behind.
Okay.
No. Yeah, Twin Towers are not perfectly level. I forget what those are called. Those are actually relatively new buildings.
Okay.
Because this is the view of this from Jersey City over in Manhattan. But but look at it. It's amazing to me that you have a pyramid right in the middle. And it's Via, and so the way that's spelled, it's a V, and then I, and then the A is just, there's no line across the middle. So it's an upside down pyramid, an I in the middle, and then a right side up pyramid on the other side.
An I in the middle, you're saying?
Yeah, VIA.
No,
Via.
An I in the middle of the
right.
pyramid?
That's right. But not only that, but so it's an abstract, right? So it's two, really what it is symbolic, but it's these two pyramids laying on top of each other, right? Androgynous, just like the Star of David. It's just laid out.
Sure.
So
I get it.
Deep, right?
Yeah.
So, I don't know. But, that's also in that same area as I mentioned. And then, but, Central Park is filled with, all types of things. You can see how that would be.
You know what?
You know?
I didn't realize it wasn't showing to everyone. Can you show that one more time?
I can.
Yeah, sorry about that. I just looked by chance.
That was the big tease. Thank you, guys.
There we go.
There you go. That is right in the center on like 58th Street in Manhattan. Yeah. And this is right next, and it's a very nice facility, and it's right next to a power plant, which would also have like see the long pipe next to it, right next to a power plant, which doesn't really make sense, right? But you'd have all types of tunnels underneath because of it.
Mm-hmm.
But this is just one. I'm just saying it's all in the same territory.
Right.
But it's just fascinating. That whole area of Manhattan is like the epicenter because everything there around Central Park is all filled with these very rich elites,
Mm-hmm.
mansions, and we actually have a lovely woman who loves New York and is from Manhattan, who lives right there, and she has toured me all over to tell me where everybody lives. And what I look at though when I'm in Manhattan all the time now is I always look at the little sculptures, right? Because there's always these symbolic sculptures, which I realize now are there's spells and things like that lock in energy, all types of stuff, gargoyles, and, pictures of little babies all around. You get out to Grand Central Station, and there's a very, very old church right there on Park Avenue, and you can see this scene that they have portrayed, on the wall of this church. I mean, it's sculpted out, very old, and it doesn't look like anything you've ever seen in the Bible. It's like the people being dragged, and it just doesn't quite match up. And I've watched people break it down before, but all that is right there in Manhattan, so it's like this incredible living experience. And then you have all of your banks right there in that same area, right there on like 40th to 43rd and Park, right? All your main bank headquarters for Chase Manhattan's headquarters are there. There's a headquarters there for Wells Fargo. It's secondary, but it's one of them. And I forget what else is there, but there's a few of them right there. So, it's like Cabal City there, right? Wonderland. There's money. You got an underground storage facility for kids, I guess, where they go do horrible things. And
yeah, it's really crazy. Thinking about this, I'm looking at the map while we're talking. I'm just wondering where that field hospital is.
Well, the field hospital is right in. You see the open grass there, right?
Yeah.
Now there's an open field in Central Park that's kind of famous, right? It's wide open. That's where it is, right? So it's right in the heart of the park, So it's kind of protected, so you wouldn't be able to see it from the street, right? So if you drove by, you wouldn't be able to just peer in.
Is it where it looks like baseball, diamonds?
Yeah, there is on the edges there, but it's a big open field. Like a lot of times you'll see. When you see Central Park, you'll see people laying out in the sun there. Right. So if you live in the city, finding a plot of grass is pretty valuable.
Sure.
You know what I mean? So, but everybody, Central Park's a very, very nice place. Even when it's crowded, it's not uncomfortable. So people go there all the time and just hang out. So, but right now, this part actually makes some sense. To me, if this is true, is that the coronavirus would be one of the very few things that would keep people out of Central Park.
I guess that's true. Yeah, you're not allowed to go congregate outside, so yeah. Makes sense.
But yeah, so that's going on. So I'll tell you, that footage that is there that doesn't tell much. But it definitely says enough that I really hope it's true.
Yeah, that they're actually there and taking the kids out right now. So she said there's a lot of reports. So I'd like to see more reports about that. That would be, good. And it kind of still Trump is still saying we're fighting the battle, and it's bad. You could see he's looking like it's not like he was the jovial himself during impeachment, right? Right. This
Yeah.
is it's quite a different energy he has about him right now, but he's very determined, and it always seems like he's saying something else when he's talking about the battle and this. Oh, you know, I think this same Q Patriot was one of his videos was pointing out that the that they're fighting, right? There was one of the Q posts said that we are fighting, and then there was brackets with a number of spaces in the middle, right? And it's enough spaces there to say invisible enemy. So it was like, okay, so now Trump is feeding this information to us. Okay, the invisible enemy we're fighting, and it's just so well put together. 2.5 years of Q posts, and now you just go back, on April 3rd of a year ago and April 3rd of 2 years ago, and then you can see what's going on right now. And you can just read the story, So it's kind of amazing,
Wow, really? Yeah. It's
yeah. I mean, it's
really
all about right now because everything's falling into place at this point. I mean, all of this stuff is now making sense. These off the wall clues, or it's like we said, Q equals Alice. Well, that didn't make any sense to anyone, right? But now it does. All right, it's a tunnel under Central Park.
Well, yeah, and I'd say they're saying it's a tunnel, but it's, the tunnel is going to be just the entranceway to something much deeper.
Right.
Not to mention I'm sure there's that's the access tunnel that I'm sure those tunnels spread out because on all sides of Central Park is one of the most affluent areas probably in the world where you have all types of, second homes or primary homes that are of a very rich elite. You also have some of the most well-known academies in the world there, right? Which, normal kids don't even really go to, right? It's only this, very rich elite group, and so you can imagine it's just it's a central hub. It's a nest of the cabal, right? So when you're looking for these Illuminati nests, they say you look for an archdiocese or a large Catholic church, right? So you have St. Patrick's Cathedral there, and then you have an archdiocese out in Rockville Center, and then which is where I live, and then you have, then you also have, obviously you have one police plaza, right, and then there's another old police station, further down, but very famous, obviously very connected. So you always look for police stations. You look for a waterway. So Manhattan, you got waterways on both sides. And then you got all types of tunnels built, right, to go out to the waterways, which is how they can dispose of bodies or, get rid of whatever they want. If they want to ship people out. All of that's very accessible in New York. And then, there's just a million, every possible thing that you would need, is there. If that's what you were looking to do. So positively and negatively, it's all in New York. And it does, I don't know. I'm glad that this is being broken up, but it's something, in my opinion, that has to be made public.
Yeah.
It has to be something that is shown, because people need to realize this is not a myth.
Yeah, I think we're really going to see this. Trump is preparing people. He's saying this is going to be, awful 2 weeks, right? It's going to be really bad. So he's kind of laying the groundwork to let people know how bad it's going to be. I don't know if we're going to get any kind of, real information coming out until, after the 10th. But I think there will be.
But I will say that the fact that that's even showing the way that those photographs even leaked out, because that's definitely recent, right? Like those tents just went up in Manhattan, in Central Park. to have that hole uncovered doesn't make sense in reference to the coronavirus, right?
Right.
It doesn't make sense.
I mean, it's kind of far. It's kind of far away from everything. I don't know how easy it is to get into that area. Can you drive into that area?
So there's a road that cuts across Central Park on like 50. No, it's like maybe 65th or something like that. But no, it wouldn't be easy. Even if you went that way, you wouldn't be able to just probably see that clearly. I think you'd have to walk in. You know, I'd have to go check it out to see. Yeah. But I can imagine it's definitely right now it's going to be impossible because it's going to be locked down. You know, they have everything locked down. No one can get there, I'm sure, because they don't want anyone to see that. But so then you got to think if they're pulling kids out from there. Now, obviously, the kids didn't get there that way, right? Either they've been there being used, right? And this is like a rape dungeon, like a massive rape dungeon. And I would say Wonderland is not Manhattan. Wonderland that they're referring to is, the land of wonder, which is underground. Right? Because that's where Wonderland is. Alice in Wonderland, it's underground.
Yeah.
So the Q train probably does go right over that path, and there's probably a stop, which this happens all the time in New York. There's lots of secret stops for the trains, right? That you'd have to know to even stop there, right? Or I mean, you'd have to be on a specific train, probably at a specific time to have a stop there. So I'm sure that wouldn't surprise me if that was a normal thing, right? That there's a specific train for the elite that they take, and then there's a whole other rail system underneath the current subway system that's been there for a long, long time that they don't use anymore. Well, at least that's what they say they don't use anymore.
Right.
But there's a whole population of the Mole Men, is a book that was written about the underground community of homeless that live there. They haven't seen the sun either in many years, and they just live in the secondary tunnels. And but that's not something that many people would breathe into. So you can imagine, like even that movie National Treasure, I think it's called, and Nicolas Cage, they go in these depths of these tunnels, these old tunnels, right? And all that is based on real things. So it's pretty. So you can imagine the depths. I mean, you're talking about 200 feet deep, right? 200 feet deep. There's no question that's below. So I mean, most of the subways already. Subways are probably 40 feet down, 50 feet down.
Right.
So you go 200 feet deep, you're going beneath most of the subways, and then you have to imagine that's what they're referring to. That's Wonderland. That's their area where they've had these kids who've never seen the light. They've probably been there, many of them probably since birth.
Right.
Probably been raped and sodomized millions of times. They're treated. That's all they know. Many of them probably haven't ever been taught anything else, even language, right? Like in many cases, they've just been down there. Now, I'm not trying to. I mean, I know those things exist. I know this is commonly practiced, but I don't have those details yet. But that is honestly, it really, you want to talk about something that would force an awakening, and I know this has been a concern for a long time the way they've handled this information. Right. That they don't want to shock people into silence or into fear or into violence, right? And I'm hoping at this point people are ready to look at this reality and the horror of it and realize we can no longer stand by and do nothing. Right? Right. Now, it just can't happen. This cannot be a thing anymore. Right? And just by eliminating this one thing, you completely cripple the cabal. You cut off their adrenochrome, their horribly satanic hedonistic practices. You cut off their way of blackmailing people who might not otherwise be part of it, right?
Yeah.
And you create an entire, I mean, like, you acknowledge, like, look, you can't do this anymore. You can't have people like Chuck Schumer be in office for 40 years, Nancy Pelosi, right? Like, and do nothing and then blame someone else. We can no longer allow these people to sit in these places anymore. You know, we have to have people, the people have got to step up and into the place to actually be, you know, assemble and to make decisions and decide what do you want to have happen, right?
Right. No, you can't. No. Hey, I've got another photo I can't show you because I can't share. But it's a Twitter, and it's I had to make you host. I don't know where the setting is.
Yeah, I got you. I'll make you the co-host. Oh no, you don't have that option. It's weird.
Isn't it? Yeah, I don't know why it's like that. So yeah, they're just messing with us. We're not paranoid.
You're the host now. You can share now.
We're not paranoid. They're actually out to get us.
Yeah, no, we're not paranoid. I mean, we know they're out to get us, and we're very calm about it.
Yeah.
Good.
So this is about the comfort ship. So USNS Comfort. The hospital ships are not allowed to deliver babies. So why are there baby incubators? Drips will become floods. The truth will shock the world. Pray. So there we go. Incubators. Just more things leaking out. The drips, drips, drips. Right.
Yeah. I this honestly, okay, April 10th, that's fine, but it can't just be this, right? It can't just be obscure blogs on Twitter. The fact that this is real, and you look at networks like ABC, who took this woman, who came up there with real hard evidence on Jeffrey Epstein, right?
Sure.
And they just
Fired her.
They didn't let her go on, and then they fired her, right? Or her network fired her. I'm not sure how that worked, but the fact that they are complicit. They're complicit.
Well, she went from
every child.
She went from ABC to CBS, right? And then the guys at ABC called CBS and had her fired.
Yeah.
That's how that works. You know, she wasn't even working for ABC anymore.
Yeah, I mean, but this is the kind of thing. It's like, wait a minute. What is the scenario that's the the position you're in, right? That you would rather know that there are young women, young children, babies, all types of horrors, right? Being tricked, promised wonderful things, and a lot of these young women are like just aspiring models, just kids, right? Then raped, and then forced to do things that, as a father with a little girl, the thought of any man, I could not be held responsible for my actions. I can't even imagine, and there's something about us as fathers, as mothers, as parents that we should have a relative disgust for that, even if it's not our child, right? It's not a stretch, right? People always talk about like, oh, I'm an empath. Well, we're all empathic. We all have the ability to empathize, right? We can empathize with a child being hurt, right? and know the difference, and know that we never want to be the person who stood by and let it happen, right? Like, and right, because as bad as just the thought of someone standing by and letting your child get hurt like that should be enough to inspire action, right? Yeah. So the fact that we've all done this, internationally, right, is just, it's so tragic, but we can't let it stay in tragedy, right? Because the tragedy will consume us, right? So it has to be, it has to be the spark that inspired change.
Yeah, we have to go through the process of discovery, of understanding what happened, go through all the those emotional states to deal with it, right? We just can't shove it under the rug and forget about it. It's underground. Let's not even think about it. That's really bad to think about. No, this has been everywhere in the world for a long, long time, way longer than our lives, and it's been going on. It's they hint about it. I was thinking about like the Matrix films, and they talk about they have some of the old programs that were known as vampires and werewolves, right? Right. And so from the previous times, right, when that was used to scare people, right? Well, they're still talking. That was more clues of like, hey, they drank our blood because it gives them power. You go back. I remember I was in high school, and in California. I moved from Pennsylvania to California in high school, and we're having a history or social studies or something, and they're talking about the sacrificial Mayans, right, or was it the Aztecs? Anyway, one of them was
both. They both.
Yeah, so they were sacrificing, and they did it by the tens of thousands. The blood ran down the pyramids, and you can't judge them. What do you mean you can't judge them? That's wrong. That's bad. It's like black and white issue, red and white issue. Yeah, it's bad, right? There's no like, sympathize with their situation. That's what they thought brought the rain. Whatever, doesn't matter. It's evil. They were drinking the blood because it gave them a high, because of the adrenochrome.
Right.
And then turns out that is what sets up the brain to allow for schizophrenia. Right?
Oh, really?
Yeah, I brought it up.
Oh, that's like the what is it? That one. It's like Mad Cow, right?
So, well,
like
it's something like that, but it's setting the stage. It's like wiring the brain, right? Because it's bringing hallucinations, auditory and visual hallucinations. So your brain is now reformatted to allow for that to happen, right? So now you're hearing voices, and they're telling you bad things. Well, if you're getting highs out of this, and there's all this ritual that says you get power from God if you do this. Well, God's going to be talking to you all the time, telling you to do more, because you're getting a high out of it, right? So it's setting the stage. So this was in a 1950s, report where they were talking about the adrenochrome and why, and they were, and how it was being used, and how it's the melanin was a factor because you needed the melanin to create adrenochrome. Right. So the more melanin, the more adrenochrome.
Adrenochrome. Right. That's why they target
Haitians.
The entire. Yeah, that's why they target the entire African continent.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's fascinating. Sometimes people will, I've had many people tell me like Tank, you get too dark, man. Just keep it positive, keep your vibes up, dude, right? And it's funny because I feel the same way about them, right? Because people think that just because they say kind words, or they hide their pain or their shame, that they're being positive, right? They think that's positive. I think what's positive is when, I see that there's a problem and I take action on it.
Right.
Where I don't feel positive is when I know people are being hurt and I do nothing.
Right.
So I don't see how, anybody can say, we can't talk about it. No, we can talk about it. Here's what we can't do. We can't talk about it and do nothing. Right? Like, nobody benefits from, a bunch of people going to the barbershop or the beauty salon and just complaining about somebody who they think might be molesting a kid, or complaining about anything else for that matter. It doesn't benefit anyone.
Right.
I agree. There's no benefit to that. But people that are, solution oriented, right? Problems just represent new opportunities to solve, situations to solve things. Well, this is a horrible problem that no one, we should never have ignored. I don't know how we ever could have, right?
Well, I think that what this slow roll that it's been on, growing and festering like it's a metastasized cancer throughout the whole body, and that it just grew so slowly. At a certain point, that even if you wanted to complain outside of the barber shop, you wanted to go to the police. The police are part of the problem, right? You tell your boss. The boss, the higher you go, the more likely you're going to get into, you're going to be in the cage, right? So it kind of got to the point where no one that could really make a stand. I think, probably back in the 1950s, the Ward Cleaver, period, Leave It to Beaver, there's a lot of, people that, stood up and did things, right? But, after this slow roll through the 70s, 80s, 90s, and 2000s, they've removed all the ability for us to react against it, and they trained us to allow just the people on the talking sets in front of us, on the boxes, to say, well, they're gonna address the problem, and they never do. So they dulled us down into doing nothing. Right? It's
that's a tragedy.
Yeah,
it really is a tragedy.
And,
I'll tell you, and this is part of the emasculation of the men, right? Because you had to really, you got to think, it didn't happen overnight, right? We always say this. It didn't happen overnight. Very true, right? It didn't happen overnight. And you know what? When did this happen with men in general that we decided to let this fly? That this was something where, us taking action wasn't needed, right? You got to think that's something that they had to program into us, not just with words. They had to program this in such a way that it was in the food. It was in the reducing the male testosterone by 50%. It's the reason why all these these hipsters that are just like, hey man, let everybody be who they are. Everything's fine. It's like, no man, no, it's not fine, right? It's not fine. It's not okay. You know what? It's like we gotta stop acting like it's just everything's fine. It's not. And I don't see how you can have any kind of healing for a nation, for people. I don't see how you can have any kind of change if no one knows what the problem is. Right? We'll continue on with the same practices, the same behavior, not realizing oh my gosh, it's completely unnatural that we've had this massive explosion of homosexuality and androgynous behavior and gender dysphoria.
Right.
Not to say that there aren't people born gay. Not that I'm not for or against that at all. I don't have an opinion on it. What I do have an opinion on is, this imposition of for me, for example, is homosexuality, where it's like I'm being forced to accept it. I'm being forced to accept men sitting around defining themselves solely on their sexuality, talking constantly about their sexuality in places that would never be appropriate for someone who's heterosexual to do. It would never be appropriate, right? And if I were to do that in front of a woman and speak that way, I would be accused of harassing her.
Sure.
Right? But if I were gay and to do the exact same thing, it would be completely acceptable behavior, because they make it so you're not allowed to speak up,
right, and
say when something's wrong,
right.
And what makes that the worst thing is when we accept it, which is why you and I both agree. Like we talk about these things openly, and then sometimes, there's criticism comes from that because you're like, oh, you guys are Neanderthals, so that's like, well, You know what?
Okay,
I
good.
love this. I was in
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I-
you know,
I saw this video,
juice me up with
people
some
were freaking out, like,
juice me up with some testosterone, right?
exactly.
Right. So it's this whole idea, of having to not say those things, right? Because they're going to offend someone. It's not your right not to be offended. You decide whether you want to be offended or not, right? So if you don't want to hear, then don't listen, right? If you want to engage in a conversation, great. Men, we can sit around and we can talk about the facts, and we can draw logical conclusions, and we can construct things, right? When you want to start talking about your feelings, and that leads the conversation, you're in the wrong group.
Wow, look.
No, I said lead.
No.
I'm not saying not to have feelings, but it's like what the first part of it is. You come into this and say, it's all about the feelings. It's only about the feelings, regardless of the facts. That's where that's where the division is, right? It's like,
I agree. Yeah.
Sometimes when you're dealing with emotions, facts have no bearing, none.
Right, and they've trained us all to speak that way too, right? It's like, well, look, this is how you made me feel. And you know what I always say? I can't make you feel anyway.
Well,
you're the one to entertain your feelings.
Well, it's like, it's like a long time ago. I was like in my mid-20s or something. I cracked the code on talking to women.
Oh boy, this is where the show goes downhill.
I said. I start every sentence, right? I start every conversation by saying, "This is the way I feel," right? And I start off that way, right? And then that opens the door for the conversation to actually happen. Then I can slip some facts in.
You crafty devil.
Yeah, I know. I know it's a form of manipulation, but sometimes it's just like you need to have some sort of direction to where things make some sense, to bring people back over to where, hey, listen, it's not all about how you feel, right? Because there's no solutions in that. There's never any solutions in feelings.
So no, you don't want to talk about it. You don't want to do anything about it. You don't want to deal with it. Wait a minute. No, that doesn't work.
Yeah.
I remember I had this legendary moment, which was terrible, but it was a legendary moment when I was in college. I worked at a restaurant. I was bartending.
And this is where the show takes a dive.
Oh, this is where it's a dive. Yeah. So I was being a guy, and I was talking to some other guys, and I said, "Look, we were talking. There were some girls that were doing it. I said something like, look, in every conversation with a girl, like if she gets mad, just you say, you're right. I'm sorry, and you're pretty, right? That was my thought. Now, those three sentences, that's what I thought was brilliant on my part, right? And this girl got so offended. She goes, what? That is ridiculous. You can't say that about all women like that.
You said you're
I
sorry.
I look at her and I go, you know what? You're right. I feel like a jerk. I'm sorry. And I gotta tell you, you look beautiful when you're mad. And she melted, and everybody, all my guy friends, erupted cheering. It was terrible. It was terrible.
Yeah. Well, but that is the truth of the sexes, right? We're not emotionally based. We should not be emotionally based, because we have to take the tactical decisions in hunting, right? We have going out and providing. It's the emotional side. You remember? I don't know if you remember this or not, but while growing up, boys didn't cry.
No, like I never saw my dad cry my whole life.
Yeah, I said, well, I didn't cry. Something hurt, right? It might get a tear coming. In the corner is the pain, right? But it wasn't. It wasn't crying, right? Oh, woe is me, So I get it, but I understand, the pain of crying, right? I have cried, right? But out of extreme loss, and there's nothing to do with but dealing with that pain, all right? It's just that there's a natural point to that, but in guys, it's much different, right? It's not like the first thing that happens. Right?
Well, I gotta be honest. I'll cry. My sons and I watch a movie, and if the dog dies in the end, my two sons, we'll all cry.
Well,
and I don't worry about it. I'm comfortable with my masculinity.
We can reprogram you. It's okay. Don't worry.
Yeah, but I just I think things like that are kind of programming. I think they program us to be a certain way to think this means you're manly or not.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think those things, those old school kind of things, are necessarily accurate. But I do think there's something to be said about like right now. I saw this post and it said something like, I bet you wishing you didn't have such a sensitive man now. That you're now looking at it going, can you fight? Can you hunt? Can you fire a gun? Right?
Yeah.
And I think that's a great point. Yeah. Right? Is it because at the end of the day, it's like if things got crazy, wouldn't you want to know? I mean, as a woman or as a man, that you want to know what you're doing. As a woman, to know that man or somebody's taking care of you or helping you at least, right? Mm-hmm. And not to say that women couldn't do it, but I just don't think that's we got to have a use somewhere, right?
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. Well, there's a lot of uses, right? It's just, but those uses have been subdued. So even the aspect of building businesses and doing things, you're coming up against a system that's designed to extract more from you, to keep you in poverty. As more, the better you do. So then it leads to people just give up against the futility of it all. Right. So this is the time to move past that type of a system, right? And not have to, we should be able to build for our families, build our futures, create dynasties, and honor our family names. Going generation upon generation, as it was in times long past, right? We should be able to do that.
I don't know, Dan. I mean, think about it. For 16,500 years, we've been under the same oppressive system everywhere, right? Yeah. So I agree that there's a way to do that, but I don't think it's ever been done in any history that we know.
Yeah.
There isn't like this was the model, because think about it. What was the model? It all led us here, right? So I don't think that model has existed.
Well, I remember as some of the
has to be defined properly. Is what will exist.
In some of those sci-fi films, I remember there was like this alien that the human and the alien were together, and they're on the alien's planet, and the alien has to address like the council, right? And he goes out, right, and he's speaking, right, and the human doesn't have any idea what's going on, right, and he's out there and he's speaking for half an hour, right, and the alien comes back after addressing this council, right, and he says, "Oh, you were out there. Well, and so what did you tell him?" I said, "Well, I only introduced myself. I had to tell him my family name and go back and let everyone know from where I came, and go back and trace his family heritage all the way back as far as he could. And then he goes back again afterwards, and now after he's been introduced. So that's all that was, just to, because that was how important their family name was to them, and to hold up and be in honor. This is not to dishonor their family. Even in Star Trek, you have the Klingons, right? You dishonor the family name. You're out of the family. So this is also in movies we can tell that this was kind of a thing back then. You talk to your grandparents, they probably might say that the family name is important, but it doesn't seem to be important right now, right? Well, because who's your mama, baby mama, or baby daddy, or whatever? All this kind of stuff that's stupid.
Yeah, because it destroyed the family structure, sure.
Yeah, so if that's like, it's just more like a title, of like a status with no attachment of responsibility, right? It's completely wrong.
No, I agree. I always talk about this with my kids, that the word name means character and reputation. What somebody's name means, I often ask them, and they'll usually give you a definition they looked up, but what a name should mean, it should be something that is defined by your life's testimony. So, and everybody, each generation should do exactly what you're saying. That, if you did things in a way that is honorable, from one generation to the next, that family name should have power. It has meaning. I agree. But I just also agree that we've all been, kind of hurt horribly by perverse dumbing down and slave, in the imposition of slavery on us, and, lied to about our history. Right now they're trying to shame everybody. If you're white, you were privileged. If you were a white man, just speaking makes you a rapist. I mean, it doesn't matter anymore. There is no logic or reason behind the idiocracy that is establishing this this hate-filled cabal, deep state world. And I really think what will ultimately end up breaking that up and unifying the people is when everyone actually sees some of the damage that's happened. When people realize that there's been kids kept underground in what most people consider the greatest city in the world. Anybody who's ever lived in Manhattan would talk to you and wax poetic about all the incredible, amazing culture and music and art and beauty, just even in the buildings and the interesting people, and as well as the horrifying things there too. But nothing like this. Nothing like what if this comes out and they start talking about there's a whole other underground city where people come in from Saudi Arabia to rape, molest, and devour children, and the criminal elite from around the world gather here and have their their apartments, townhouses here, just so they can get a taste of children that have been raised to be treated like this. So that's a wake up.
Yeah. Well, this is partly the time, right? That we can look at, right, where we see that this is going to lift. This time where we're sequestered at home. We're not quarantined, sequestered. We're sitting this out, waiting for something to pass. And once it's over, I just said Passover. And once it's over, we really have to get moving, right? We've got to do things to take hold, because there's going to be a big hole, a big vacuum, a power vacuum. Like all the people that are out there in power, all of them are gone. And if they're not gone, they're soon to be gone. They're powerless. So the power vacuum is there. We need to stand up and fill it. We need to do those things that are going to basically change the world, and forget about the way it's been done. Whoever says, well, it's done this way, that's the bad way. It wasn't working too well before. Oh, but that's the only way it happens. I'm sorry, that's not the way it's going to happen. Right? You got to stand your ground, and you got to push all of that aside.
All of these, you're absolutely right. All of these conversations with people who want to, like right now, this mentality, and I see it breaking down. But you can tell it's still there, right? They dismiss innovation and ideas for change, and they'll dismiss you by saying, "Look, that's not the way it works. Or that's not the way the world works, right?" And it'll be filled with these kind of things. And right now, you're right. This is maybe the last chance we get. I mean, it's going to be the first and last chance, so we're going to make the most of it.
Yeah.
So
we have no choice.
That's all I got, man. That's it. We got no choice.
We got to do it. All right. Well, let's look forward to coming back tomorrow, and we'll see what the new updates are. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Tang. We'll see you tomorrow.
Thanks, Dan. Have a great night, everybody.
Likes, shares, positive comments. Please make some effort. Share the video. Did it before. do it again. The numbers are going up. Let's burst through. Let's get up into tens of thousands. It can happen. We're already there before. All right.